Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. We are proud to announce that this is our end-of-year show. We are just in the process of getting set up at the moment, so we're probably going to start with a very soft start here while I get some painting ready, and our guests for the evening start to line up their cameras. Looks like Corey's in. What's up, Corey?
Hello.
Hey. So we're just getting set up. Got two other people that indicated they wanted to be on, so we're gonna give them a little time here. But while we're waiting, what are you going to be working on tonight, Corey?
I'm going to be working on some bases for my doctrine, and then I'm going to be working on, his name is Claude Valmore?
Claude Valmore from Anima Tactics?
Yes.
Cool.
I just broke his arm off, so I got to fix him now.
Okay. That is cool. I am going to be working on a couple of and probably do a little work on Calico Kate here. So right now I'm going to paint up some eyeballs.
Okay.
So that's going to happen off camera. And then we'll wait until we've got, we're supposed to have at least two more people joining us here before we recap our top 10 tabletop games for 2014.
Okay, cool.
And I've got to find that dropper. There's the dropper. So, yeah, but anyway, while we're waiting for them to hop on, do you want to give a little recap or update us on what's been going on with you?
Sure. So, painting away sometimes, when I have the urge to. Let's see. We had a good time over at your place playing some games. I just started reading playtesting rules for a new game.
Which you're not supposed to discuss on air, but that's
I'm
so
not
we won't.
so we will not go there.
Okay.
But
well, you were working on some.
Yes. I would
Okay.
say that I'm excited.
Cool. Cool. And it looks like hopping on the show right now is Phil Howard. Phil, what's up, man?
What's up, guys?
Hey. Been a while since you have been on. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you much. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Phil, what are you working on tonight?
Tonight I'm working on a commission of Warhammer Fantasy Chaos Knights, Khorne variety. There's one of them right there. A little hard to see in the light. I got to get that right. But I've also got a couple of Anima models and some Relic Knight stuff on the sideboard for when I need a break.
Cool. Okay. Anything new with you that you want to update us on while we wait for our third, and I believe our final panelist to hop on?
No, it was just funny. I'm going to be in Hawaii in a month or so for a couple weeks. So I was looking at a game store out there that I could potentially get a couple games in, and I'm looking at it on my phone, and the wife looks over and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Just looking at game stores." And she says, "Why can't you look at porn like a normal guy?" So that's my life.
You know, my wife has said the same to me. She has. She says, yeah. Because, when I travel for work, I would bring my miniatures with me. and go find the game store, just like you're talking about, and go game. And she's like, well, why don't you just find the local strip bar? And I'm like, well, do you know how much money it costs to go hang out at a strip club? It's really not. It's not even really worth it. Ask me. So, yeah, that's just us, I suppose. For those of you just joining and listening to us talk about porn or strip clubs versus miniatures, welcome to Play It Painted Live. If you are painting tonight, let us know what you're painting. Or if you were thinking about painting, let us know what you are guilty about not painting at the moment, right? So,
I guess I should have asked
very
if we were
cool.
live.
Yes, we are live. We are live, but luckily, our 4 viewers act with discretion here, so we should be safe. So you're off to Hawaii next month. That's cool.
Yeah. It's just work, but 3 weeks. Can't complain.
Yeah, can't complain. Probably a pretty decent time of year to be over there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take 80 degrees.
Are you going over to? Are you going to be off Oahu, or are you actually like kind of patrolling around?
Oh no, I'll
waters
be in Oahu.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, not much else I can say
An
about that.
interesting note. There are 3 models left for RK that I haven't painted yet, and a combined 4 eyeballs. Because one of them's winking, one has an eye patch, and the other one has both eyes available. So why don't I just paint all the eyeballs right now? So yeah, we're supposed to have one more person joining us here in a few. That's Mark, but we'll give it a couple minutes, and if he doesn't show up, we'll just we'll get right into tonight's topic, which is our end of year show. So, for those of you who have not watched our end of year show from last year, what we do at the end of year show is we run a sort of informal poll amongst our group and amongst some other folks that we know play lots of tabletop games, and we ask them basically to rate their top 10 tabletop games. Now, it is supposed to be kind of an all-time list. However, we know that the nature of tabletop games is such that whatever game you're playing the most tends to throw that list off a bit. And so your list will fluctuate from year to year, and it will probably reflect what you're currently playing, because that's just kind of how miniature games work. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I'll explain how we kind of do the scoring, just for your reference, just so you guys know what this is about. And my usual, I guess, business level disclaimers here. So yeah, first off, this list is literally just a list. It's really not. We don't feel that it's a reflection of really anything other than the attitudes and opinions of people that we polled. And as it turns out, the people that we poll are often fans of Ninja Division games, or in the case of all 3 of us here, we are all Ninja Corps volunteers. And so, if you think there's going to be some bias in the list here, I'm here to tell you, yes, there probably will be, and some of that will have to do with our status with Ninja Division. That said, I think you can argue that both ways. You can say that our status with Ninja Division is a reflection of our opinion of the games. You could look at it that way, which it is. Or you could say that our opinion of the games, as depicted by this list, is a reflection of our status with Ninja Division. So, whatever. Call it however you want, but all I'm here to say is it's just a list, folks. Don't get bent out of shape if your game or games are not represented. Another thing we would point out about this list, too, is it really does reflect a little bit more about the scene that we're in. For example, we tend to, our local group here, and even the online groups that we interact with most often are in the skirmish game realm, and typically in the what we call the fictional skirmish game realm. So if Flames of War doesn't show up on the list, that doesn't mean that people aren't playing Flames of War. It just means that within this particular sphere, there's not a lot of there's not a heavy amount of interest in Flames of War. So take that for yet another disclaimer. It's part of this list. Again, we try not to take things too seriously, but we do think it's kind of fun to kind of go over our lists and tackle it that way. I have a text here that I need to look at, so you guys will excuse me for a minute. This could be my kid who is...
What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, yeah, for my part at least, my stage in life indicates that I'm doing a lot more skirmish gaming than anything else, just because the games are quicker, and I can transport an army more easily. Sometimes a couple of forces for different games, even in one case, which is really, really appealing to me. Some of the games on my list, which didn't make our ultimate list, were things like 40K and Fantasy, which I have played in the past. I'm not currently playing them, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate them as a source of great enjoyment in the past at the time. But that's me adding to the extended caveat.
Cool. Okay. Corey, you have any disclaimers here before we get started? And it looks like Mark is going to be hopping on here any minute now, so should be able to get started.
Disclaimer, it'll be like at the last minute.
Okay. A couple of comments in. Troy Perez says, "Porn and strip clubs, best episode ever." We could totally do an episode on porn and strip clubs. I don't think, like, my whole attitude about porn and strip clubs is that they're kind of boring. But so, I mean, they serve a purpose, and sometimes it's a good purpose. But I don't know. As a topic, as a discussion topic, kind of boring. But as an alternative to miniature gaming, okay. That might be an interesting topic. I don't know.
Why haven't we done this sooner?
I don't know. Hey, what's up, Mark? Viv?
I do think, though, that with our recent foray into gaming at bars and, well, not bars, but breweries and such, we have potential for expansion.
Yeah, we could totally do that. So it sounds like Viv is assembling Drake figures. That was a Kickstarter board game as well, right? Did you get in on that one, Corey?
Drake was the dragon game, I believe. And,
yeah.
I'm a little butthurt about that right now. I don't know if any of you guys have been following it or not, but the guy hasn't put out a post recently in about a month and a half. So everyone's been trying to contact this guy, and he contacted one person, and pretty much they ran out of funds.
Cool.
They moved.
That's bad.
I guess they moved to from what I read. I don't know everything, so that's my disclaimer for you right there. I don't know everything, just from what I read for comments. It seemed like they ran out of money and funds, and they took out a loan that they couldn't support, I guess, to pay their employees. So everyone that's working right there has now been volunteering since July or something like that.
Oh man.
So, from what I was told, I don't know everything, but what it seemed like what people were saying was that they pretty much went in over their head and didn't spend their money right. So,
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. It looked like a really cool game. I mean, especially with dragons. Anything with dragons has got to be a fun game.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of like the law of fantasy.
The law of fantasy. All right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into how this discussion is going to work now that everybody's here. Just so you know, and just for the viewers, the benefit of the viewers here, how this works is what we do is basically I go around and I ask our internal team here at Play It Painted and some other folks that we know or currently game with, or even just kind of correspond with online, to rate their top 10 favorite tabletop games. That it should ideally be an overall list, but we do, like I pointed out earlier in the program, we do understand that yearly fluctuations will manifest in these lists, because for a miniature game, if you're not regularly playing it, even though it might be your favorite of all time, it might be fallen by the wayside to something that you are currently playing. So what we do is we have everyone assemble those lists, and then we assign a number of points to each game based on where everybody puts them in the list. And it's a very simple formula. Essentially, it's 11 minus the ranking of the game that you play. So if you gave something number 1 on your list, it's going to count as 10 points. And if you put something 10th on your list, it'll count as 1 point. So what we do is we assemble all the votes, all the nominations, and we score them out that way, and then we force rank them, and that comes back with a top 10 list for us, and that's our methodology. It's by no means scientific. It's just simply that's how we do it. So what that means is if you have multiple people that put the same game on their list, it is feasible that, say, if fewer people put another game that is higher on their list, and that overall score trumps the other one, even though the other one has more overall selections, that could be an issue. That said, this year's list, as compared to last year, I think is a little bit stronger. I think we have fewer nominations this year, 44 total game nominations, whereas last year we were at 52, and the voting towards the top was a lot more solid this year than it was last year, and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of how we consolidated our main volunteers. That will reflect in the list. I'm just telling you guys right now. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with number 10.
What?
The suspense is killing me.
It's killing me as well.
This is the part where they go to commercial.
Yeah, we're professionals here at Play It Painted. Clearly.
Exactly. Well, in the absence of Octave Speed, I happen to know what the number 10 was, and we can start talking about it.
Oh, thank God.
Arena Rex.
Oh, good.
All right.
Yep. For all the listeners out there, obviously Arena Rex was a very hotly anticipated Kickstarter for 2013, and had a lot of delays based on the sculpts and some of the production. The game has delivered, and most of the backers have received it and have assembled a lot of it. And it's oh shoot, there he went entirely. But I don't know. As far as the gameplay goes, I've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, the models are gorgeous. They're very fragile resin, but they're when you can pull them off, it looks gorgeous. You just got to be real careful about playing. This is not a game that you want to take it to a convention and let everybody just manhandle the miniatures.
Okay.
But, it's a fast, easy to play game, and I think it's a lot of fun. You guys?
Well, I've only played it twice, but both those times were fun.
I think Octave's back.
I am back. Luckily, I had to kick off that discussion, and then I immediately went offline. So
we introduced
TV at the same time.
Say again?
Sarah and I were both like just painting, and all of a sudden you're like, and number 10 is? And then at the same time, look, it's still there, and we're like, what is going on?
It's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, you got us good. Good thing Phil knows
Nice.
us.
So Phil picked up the ball. I actually did ask him to kind of lead us off on the Arena Rex discussion, so that works out. So, yeah, I'll give my quick impression here. Again, I think Phil probably mentioned that we've only played this game a handful of times here in SoCal. But every single time we've played it, it's been very entertaining. It's a very portable game, very tactical game. That's one of the things that I really like. Is it really does, to my mind, it really does kind of capture that gladiatorial arena type feel. And then the other thing I would say about the game, obviously, is the miniature quality is really just off the charts. It's a phenomenally awesome looking game. The miniatures are brilliant, but the miniatures are a double-edged sword for me because they are resin and they're very, very high quality. And for the type of game that this is, where miniature positioning is very important, and you do a lot of repositioning during the game, I get a little bit worried with how brittle some of these resin parts can be. So that's one of my concerns with the game. The other concern is, market penetration, and I hate to sound like a salesman, but I worry about a company as small as Red Republic and their ability.
Did he cut out again?
He might have. I think what he was trying to say was that he's worried about their ability to basically provide enough market saturation to develop a fan base. One of the things that caused Privateer Press to take off was that they got it everywhere.
Yeah.
And it took off, and they kept producing models at a rapid rate, and basically built a fan base by brute force, which actually is kind of the point of that game. Arena Rex is going to face kind of an uphill battle with models of A, that quality, B, that cost, and C, being available primarily through online orders only. It's going to limit their exposure unless they get a lot more word of mouth. So I have high hopes because it's a solid game with a lot of potential, but I don't know. I don't know what 2015 is going to hold, but I look forward to seeing.
Yeah. That and just getting to a market that is already so dominated by certain companies that shall not be named.
Corey, what do you think? You were a Kickstarter.
I was a Kickstarter backer. Sarah and I did the print and play for months upon months, and we loved it. But I just actually tonight broke one of the models.
Ooh, which one?
I broke Hermes. I broke his feathers off his head because they're like paper thin.
Yeah.
I set it down wrong, and it just toppled over, and I lost both the feathers to the carpet somewhere.
I did the same thing. I replaced his feathers with little green stuff horns.
And I might do that too, just to change it up. But yeah, I was a little upset about that. But they're great models. I love the game. I love the style that you kind of choose what to do with everything. As far as I don't just do 3 damage. I can choose if I want to do a certain amount of damage, or if I want to push you around, or gain some favor. I really like that style.
Okay.
Cool beans.
You back, Octave? Porn, I think I keep getting this. Somebody must be streaming porn. I can't. But yeah. So I don't know how much you guys caught of my little spiel on Arena Rex, but
we
I'm
covered
pretty sure I'm not saying anything different from. Okay. Cool. So are we good to go there, or we have any more comments on Arena Rex?
I don't think so. I said what I think. I think the game's really good.
Said my piece.
All right, cool. All right, so why don't we move on to number 9? And number 9 is a game that I actually have not played in 2014. I think, Mark, you're the guy that's played the most of it out of the 4 of us here in 2014. So why don't you kick us off with number 9, which is Warma Hordes.
Oh. Well, War Machine as a whole is kind of like, there isn't a whole lot that sticks out as far as unique wargaming mechanics work. But I think where it sells itself is that the miniatures look a lot better, and the games are usually a bit tidier than other popular games because you use so little dice in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So have you seen or played with any of the like exigent stuff, or I saw a bunch of that stuff floating around. That expansion, I guess, for Hordes came out this year.
Oh, well, I always leaned more towards War Machine than Hordes, so I have not tried out any of the exigent stuff.
Okay.
But it looks pretty cool.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on Warma Hordes? I know it's kind of dry. We don't have Tin Man or anybody like the hardcore Warma Hordes guys chiming in right now.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask a question then, Mark.
Yeah.
Because you have more experience. I got into Warma Hordes when it first came out, but then once they started getting the larger warjacks and things like that, I right when they released Hordes, actually, I kind of fell out of it. And lately I've seen they got Colossals and all that. How do you find that impacts just regular friendly gameplay, or does it mostly just come out during tournaments?
Well, I think because the Colossals are such a huge point cost, you don't really see them in small games because that's like your entire force right there, and that's not a very bright idea because they don't really do much. They're the ones that I've played, Crix and what's that other one?
Convergence, right?
Yeah, Convergence, Crix and Convergence. They were more like the kind of people that you would walk in with after everything's been weakened. But apparently there are some really good ones like the Kador one and the Signar one are really good offensive. But they're definitely different.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay, so my comment on Warma Hordes is actually I'm a little surprised that that we aren't really playing this game just with how pervasive it is. But then I do understand, like what you were saying earlier, Phil, that a lot of the games that we play are much smaller scale, and they fit a budget and a lifestyle, I guess, a little bit that we would favor. Not saying that Hordes is terribly expensive, but it's one of those games that that is going to require you to sort of keep up with it as your main system. We don't. We played Hordes, kind of Worm Hordes, as a casual game, and you can enjoy it from that standpoint. But it's just not going to. To me, it's not really the experience that most Warm Hordes players have. In that they really embrace the system. They make it their main game, and then a show like this becomes really more of another privateer game show. So that's probably why you don't really see us talking about it, or we're really not invested in it, because we're all about having smaller, multiple experiences rather than some of these larger games.
Yeah.
That said, I do agree that I do really like the models for Hordes. I enjoyed painting it when I was painting a lot of it. But the game itself to me just got it's just a little too big. The model count's a little higher than I typically like. I just really don't want to. The guys that really play Warlords are really students of the game, and I don't know. For me, I don't see myself really jumping into a game that's going to be that time consuming to follow. So.
And the shoulder pads.
That's it.
And
the shoulder pads, yes. The game does have an outrageous amount of shoulder pads. Okay, so speaking of other games that I don't play, we're going to go to number 8 here. Number 8 is Dead Zone. So Mantic showing up on our list here. Probably, now this is, locally this is probably a gross underestimation of where Mantic would be locally, because there are a lot of people that play and follow Mantic games locally here. I know that of those of us on this panel, Corey's probably our most experienced Mantic player here. So Corey, if you want to kick us off here with a brief description of Dead Zone and your impressions of it.
Okay, so Dead Zone is a skirmish game, and it's based on movement in cubes and shooting in cubes. It's a D8 system with exploding 8s, and you activate a certain number of models going back and forth, and there's basically cards that you can play on a character to increase, to do more things with. Maybe you give them an extra movement point, or you give them more dice when shooting. There's also let's see, what am I trying to say here? So in the game, missions are secret, so no one knows what anyone's doing. You're just trying to complete whatever yours is, and it's first to 10 points win. It's a very fun game, I think. From the times we've played, we've always had a good time. And everything is on a stat card, and basically you are rolling to beat your models, basically. So you're trying to beat above what their stat is when playing the game.
Okay.
That's what I really think about the game. Like, I haven't really played it in a while. Sarah actually played it more recently than I have.
Cool.
But I think it's a fun game. And since they're making more and more of there's more and more models coming out for it every couple months, I think. I've been following it that closely recently, but it's a fun game. I'll definitely say it's a fun game to break out every once in a while and play.
Now,
One of the great things
I've heard, yeah.
about it. I'm sorry. One of the great things about it, just offhand, is that it comes with all of that great terrain. I mean, stackable terrain that looks great for any game that you might play. It's quick. It's easy to assemble. It looks good whether it's painted or not, and it's very clear that Mantic had a direct mission to put out a game with everything you need to play it. Boom, there it is. Buy it, have fun with it, done.
Yeah.
And that it was kind of impressive how it all turned out so quickly.
Yeah. I played one game and I fell in love. I was like, this game's pretty cool. So I bought you buy the entire set. I got it for $80, and you get everything you need to play. Like everything. There's nothing else you need to buy unless you want to get more and more models. But you have enough to play any game really you want.
That's cool.
That's cool.
And it's pretty simple to follow too. It's not hard. Basically, you have you either take one lock action or 2 different short actions. And other than that, it's pretty simple. Everything is on the board, or it's on like a little cheat sheet for you. It's a really fun game.
Cool. Okay. I have the question I have is, and I think we should give honorable mention to Dreadball, even though Dreadball did not make the top 10. We just know that that's something that was played locally and has had a following, and probably will see a little bit more action into 2015 as well. So I guess my question is, why do you think? Well, why did I know you're one of the guys that put Dead Zone on here? Why did you put Dead Zone on and not Dreadball? I guess is my question.
I didn't put Dreadball on. Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, you did have Dreadball,
I might have put Dreadball on. I think I
but
put Dreadball on higher than Dead Zone, if I'm
but
correct. I
yeah,
can
there
check.
were multiple people had indicated Dead Zone. So I guess that maybe my question's moot here. I was wondering why Dead Zone and not Dreadball, but it might just be the number of people that called out Dead Zone as opposed to Dreadball.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't honestly I don't really know. I think they're both really good games. And like the games that Mantic's putting out they're really simple to follow. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing complex at all, which is really nice. I like they're coming out with another Kickstarter um, for Kings of War, and like everything I've heard about it, it's really simple to follow. There's nothing crazy about it.
Okay.
And actually, I did not put Dreadball on here on mine.
Okay.
But I think both games are really good. I think Dead Zone had like a bigger following, I want to say, because of the Kickstarter for it. And I think a lot of people got in on that, and then from there it kind of just like I was like, oh cool, yeah, I'll buy this game. And then from there I was like, oh, what's Dreadball? And then I bought Dreadball.
Yeah, I have a Dreadball team, but I've only really played it once.
Yeah, and it's like they're really easy games to follow and understand. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that's complex. I mean, some of the models aren't the greatest, but I mean, for what the price that you're paying to get all the good stuff is crazy.
What I also this about Mantic Minis, though, mold lines.
Yeah, mold lines.
Yep.
What about those?
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna keep this moving here. So we're gonna move to number 7, which is a game I haven't played yet. In fact, I don't know. Well, I think Corey again is the only person on this panel that's played it, and due to this game actually wasn't gonna make the top 10, but some last-second voting. Looking at you, Jose. Put Infinity into the number 7 spot, and this is one of those instances where we've had a few people that were voting very passionate about the game Infinity. There's a local buzz going around Infinity right now. There's a number of us, myself and probably Mark here, and obviously Corey, because he's excited about all games, where we just kind of circle the mod, like, wow, I want that, and I want that. So Corey, do you want to give us a real brief kind of intro to Infinity?
As best I can. I've only played like 2 demo games of it, and I love the game.
Okay.
So D20 system, and you're rolling to basically roll below your score, or of your stat, basically. So you're trying to roll below your stat, and you basically have actions and reactions that you can do. So, like, if a model moves in front of your line of sight, you can shoot it.
Oh.
So it kind of makes it really cool because it's like you're always doing something. No matter what's going on, you're basically watching all of your models to see if someone can shoot something. The models are amazing for it. They're some of the best models I've seen. Besides, and I love Tactics models, but Infinity models I think they're one of the best models I've actually ever seen. I want to say sculpted, I guess. Or ever in a minis game.
Yep.
They're really great. A lot of detail. But I don't know. It's something I've played twice, and I was like, yeah, I could play this game every day. So that's why I kind of rated it high. And I know they're coming out with their new rulebook. I guess there were some kind of glitches with the old one, and it kind of made it kind of weird. So version 3, I guess, is supposed to be like a really good version. I haven't read too much into it, but yeah, I did the starter set for it. I'm still trying to get those guys together since I've got a billion models that need to get put together. But I think it's a good game. I'm probably rambling now, so.
Yeah, we were kind of, or well, I was kind of looking forward to getting somebody down at JJ's to try it when the new rulebook dropped.
Yeah, you can download the rulebook right now actually online.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting a message here that Infinity just released their third edition Rules Online 2 days ago, and yeah, that link has been circling around. I haven't yet downloaded it, but yeah, for me, this is a game that has had my interest visually for some time. And so I did actually buy some models a couple years ago, and I painted them up, and they've been sitting in my collection ever since, kind of waiting for an Infinity demo. And I would say back then, the reason why I didn't get into Infinity was mainly because every game that I've kind of spectated has not been a good game. And I don't think it's a reflection of the game mechanics. I think it's more of a reflection of the people playing. So, and that's something to be taken into consideration, that if you watch the local guys playing a game, it does reflect on you. And if you don't think that those guys are really having a good time, or they just rub you the wrong way, you're like, well, part of a game is its community. And if you don't like the game's community, you're probably not a good idea to buy the game. That said, and the same kind of goes with Warlords too. We were trying to stay away from the competitive side of Warlords. We just wanted to play casually and just kind of amongst ourselves. And that's kind of where I'd like to start with Infinity. I've always wanted to paint more and more of the models. And even when I was not into the game, I would go look at Infinity models and try to talk myself out of buying the models because I loved them so much. The sci-fi anime theme alone kind of has me. So I'm in it for that. I'm going to be. This is definitely something that we've already committed to trying out. Either I would say in the next month or so, we're going to give it a shot, and we're going to see where this buzz goes with third edition. That said, I'm still a little skeptical about playing this game on any sort of a quote-unquote public basis, because I just don't know, from what I've seen of at least the local meta, I don't know if that's really where I want to be with my gaming, personally. I don't know if you guys understand that point or not, if I'm making any sense.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I mean, from a painting standpoint, I'm there. I want to buy and paint and collect, and I think they're beautiful. But the gaming side is, this is probably going to be a side game for me. It's probably be something I play, just internally with you guys and a few other friends.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments on Infinity before we move on here? Filipino robots, got to say that. Yes.
And space
say,
monkeys.
and space monkeys. Okay. Yeah, Jose had me at Filipino robots because I was going to turn away from it, and he's like, "No, they're Filipino pilots. They pilot these, and they're coming out soon." And I was like, "What? Who? What? Why don't I have that?" So that's totally going to happen. Looking forward to Infinity, though. I mean, just the excitement that people have around it. The Ice Storm set I looked at, Operation Ice Storm. Mark and I looked at the other night.
Yep.
Very small box, but the contents were very impressive.
I got that myself, and I think it's a really great starter to getting into games. For me, when I'm getting into a game, I've got to have a 2-player starter box, which is where I think where gaming, like miniature gaming, should go towards. Just my personal opinion on it, of course, but I just think it's a little bit easier to get people into games if you buy a starter set or two. If you have two boxes basically in a starter, where you both can break out models and start playing, as opposed to buying whatever the heck you want. I don't know if I'm making myself. I like to just make random comments, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't just buy the white pieces or the black pieces on the chess set.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta have a base of somewhere, and I think that's where games. I mean, for me, that's a selling point. Even if I don't know anything about the game, if you have a starter player for 2-player starter set, I guarantee you I will be buying it. Even if everyone says it sucks, I will be buying it.
Okay, so moving on, we're gonna introduce game number 6 here on our list, and I'll point out that the overall composite score between number 6 and number 7 are the same. So this game actually tied Infinity for based on our scoring matrix here. That said, it moves to number 6 because more people called it out, and it was just a little bit lower on people's lists. And there was no Jose to come in and save the day here on this one. And we're talking about Anima Tactics. So Anima Tactics was, for you guys that watched the year-end show last year, Anima Tactics, I think, finished like first. It was like one. It was definitely top 3. And that reflects the state of where we were last year as we were playing these games. Anima Tactics was kind of a big deal within our group. We were all avidly buying it, painting it, and playing it. This year, I think the reason why it falls back is because focus on new games that came out this year that are probably going to end up on this list, and then also it's still getting called out. So what that means is we're still playing it. We still play this game. It's just it's just right now it's kind of a lower priority compared to newer games out. As I mentioned last year when we talked about this game for me really does hit on all cylinders as far as painting and hobby collecting. I do like the game mechanics. I think the game mechanics are good. My main criticism of the game is I just wish the scenarios were a little bit more interesting. The mechanics themselves are very cool. It's a very kind of it almost feels like a Final Fantasy style game. In that you have party, you assemble a party of adventurers. You play against another player's party of adventurers, and you use your different attacks, and the AP management system is a very tactical management system. But yeah, I think that this is actually artificially a little low for our list. But what do you guys think?
I think you're right on all counts. I like the game a lot from an aesthetic standpoint. The gameplay is also really interesting. I don't think that there's a whole lot of depth in the scenarios. It's mostly just show up and kill the other guy. But that's why I was kind of looking forward to seeing, before a lot of other things started dropping, stuff that we'll talk about later on the list, Paul had been talking about generating some sort of a campaign where you took a basic agent and then leveled him up with powers, and he got stronger and stronger, and recruited a team to go around and fight other teams, and it seemed like it had a lot of potential for added depth, which our games were needing. But and then we all got sidetracked with life. But overall, I think it's a great game, and it's just beautiful to paint and real easy to just keep a small force available, and all you need is 6 models if you really want to show somebody how to play it.
Right.
Or even 4.
Okay.
That's true.
Yep. We've run 4 model demos for Anima Tactics. Corey, what you have any? Actually, let's stay with Mark here for a sec. Your comments on Anima Tactics?
I think that it is a very impressive game visually, but mechanically there are a few things that might need simplification.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why I prefer to do demos with 4 models, because there's it looks a little less daunting. But once you get in the mindset of Anima Tactics, it just flows very easily.
Okay.
And the menus are pretty.
Yep. What do you think, Corey? Anima Tactics.
I really love the models, and I think some of the best models I've actually ever painted are Anima Tactics models. I really love the models. I like this style of play, where because it's you're using all your action points and you're kind of figuring out, what do I want to save this for? Should I do this attack? Should I do this attack? Uh, or do I wait so I can, get more action points for the next round so I can do something even better? Um, I I just have like a few things that I think that I kind of threw me off a little bit. Like when I was playing last weekend, I had two models left and Jose had four, and I had to
Hmm.
activate. I basically he activated, I activated, he activated, I activated, and that was all done. There was nothing I could do. He had two more models. There was no way I was gonna stop anything from happening. So I think for me, it's kind of like once you start losing models, you pretty much can't choose anything that goes on anymore. Whereas opposed to Eldorado, you can be like, oh well, you've got three models. I've got one. I'll let you activate another one first, and then I'll see if I want to go. I
Hmm.
like a little bit more, and I think if this was thrown into that, I think it would be a little bit better. Um, that's
Okay.
just I think that'd make it a little bit easier because now you're stressing over, do I what do I do to do something? Because for me, it's just kind of it just throws a little bit off for me that I've got two models because he's killed everything, and I can't do anything now
Sure.
because he's going to shut down everything that I have.
Okay.
So I feel like once you're losing, you've pretty much lost. Like there's no way to come back to do anything. So I think for me that's kind of like a little downfall of the game. But overall, I really like the game. D10 system. Um, anything that's not a D6, I'm totally okay with. So
Okay.
I mean, I love D6 games too. It's just everything seems to be D6. That's dice based. So I think to throw in like a D10 or a D20 every once in a while, it's just a change of variety of dice.
Okay. Um, in my opinion, I think that Anima Tactics, what it's really suffering from right now is it's one of those games that just badly needs an update. It's I would say it's a fantastic game from like a crossover like role play sense because of it's so character based. Um, and you have agents like Phil was talking about. We had considered a campaign where you kind of level up your agent. I think the game is really fun for stuff like that. But it just overall, it's just a game that really could use an update. The card formats are not, I think, are really outdated. They need to include a little bit more modern game design to them so that they're more convenient for the players. The scenario system can be looked at, just freshened up a little bit. Overall, the core mechanics of the game, I think, are good. It's just an older game that could really use a new version and a fresh look. And that would be fantastic if they were to do it. So I'd say that would be my main issue with the game is I still really love the game. I'll point out that it's interesting that we have a lot of sci-fi on this list, and would you say? Let me ask you this, Phil. Would you say that this year we saw a lot more sci-fi games being played within our circle here?
In general, yes. Yeah, I think that there are some fantasy type games like Blood Bowl and um, certain aspects of other games, but Saga was a notable exception. But for the most part, yeah, it was all sci-fi or a modern feel to it.
Yeah, it was a good year for sci-fi anime, especially with our group here. I'm going to load comments. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. And let's see if we have any more comments here. Currently, no. All right. So let's just keep it moving. We're into the top 5, and we are on the Cypher doubleheader here for a game that did not make the top 10 last year, but I gave it an honorable mention and said look for it this year. And that game is Heldorado. So who wants to kick off Heldorado here for us, given that all of us here are, I would say we're all pretty avid Heldorado players. Volunteer? Anyone? Bueller?
Uh,
Okay.
Sure.
I
Go
will.
for it.
I'll pick it up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, it's okay. Honestly, I don't. I think it's a great game. I love the models for it as well. I like the command system as far as using your extra points when you kind of need them to get some more dice or some rerolls. Um, I like that you're shooting the closest thing that's at you, so it's not just, oh, I'm going to snipe that guy. I have to choose the closest model to me to shoot first. And I like that there's like a damage chart that you can kind of choose what you're doing. And the game is extremely brutal. That is, and for us, I know a lot of games that you and I played, Octave. It's like, oh, I killed you. Oh, oh, you killed me too. Okay, who's going next? So I think that makes it for a fun game because everything's pretty much killing each other right away. But I think it's a pretty fun game. I don't
Okay.
not too much more I think I can say other than it's a great game.
I'll jump in with a little bit. It's
Okay.
set during about what 1500s, middle of the 30 Years' War. All of a sudden, Portal to Hell opens up, and everybody involved says, "Hey, let's go fight down there." Essentially, and
Yep.
it's kind of it is a really unique way to look at it. It's almost like they took an RPG and put it into wargaming format because it is character driven with small units, and you really, really care when one of your guys bites the bullet. The scenarios are great, and I think that you can't mention Eldorado without talking about the terraforming aspect of the game too,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
that's essential. I mean, if for anybody not familiar with it, you find a place to fight, whether it's the icy wastes or burning plains or something like that, and then each of you bids, each of your opponent, you and your opponent bid on different sections of the board, and depending on who wins what, you place terrain differently, and it really affects with area effects, with blessings, curses, hazards that you need to go around, and potential random events that happen during the game. So the terraforming part of setting the board up even before you start playing, I've heard it described as a mini game in and of itself, and that's an accurate statement,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun.
Yes. I like to describe Eldorado. Well, just to throw this in here. Eldorado actually ended up as the #2 game on my list, and it is one of my all-time favorites. I do not see Eldorado ever leaving my top 10 list because I like to describe it as the best game most people will never play. And I really do feel strongly about it that way. I do feel that this game, as old as it is still teaching modern day skirmish games and skirmish game design a thing or two about what you can do in order to streamline a game, but still give it keep a lot of depth to the game. I think Eldorado, if you stack it up with your standard skirmish combat system, combat heavy games, I think Eldorado is going to, in my opinion, going to kick the shit out of most of everything else that's out there, because you have to look at what they've done to this as a system as a whole. The command points mechanic is fantastic. It's a great way to kind of analog that and compare it to, say, the Focus Fury mechanic. It's a great way. It's a great resource management tool. You've got the terraforming mini game that Phil just talked about. You have a pretty strong scenario system. You've got fantastic models like Corey brought out. Some of the best models, I think Cypher, to me, makes some of the best metal models just flat out. They just make phenomenal kits. And so Eldorado, in my opinion, is a modern skirmish game. It incorporates a lot of more modern skirmish game design. The game isn't terribly bloated. The core mechanic is pretty simple, kind of like the way Mantic does, very, very simple core mechanics. But then I think what Eldorado does, though, is it really, really puts some crazy depth and crazy synergy in how you construct your companies and how the game itself is even played. So I can't say enough about this game. I love this game. I wish more people were playing it. It kind of almost makes me mad when I think about, like, some people at like our Relic Knights tournaments and stuff go, hey man, let's do a Eldorado event, and we're gonna do that. I don't see myself not playing this game next year, and it was a big part of. I like to credit Eldorado as being a big part of what kind of got people in and around the Ninja Division games before Relic Knights came out. So that's my windy spiel there, because I really like the game. Mark, any comments on Eldorado?
I personally really like how they do the combat system, in that it's not I hit you and then you just have to defend. It's we hit each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very brutal, very, very brutal.
Yeah, because in most games, so it's just I hit you and then you just have to sit there and defend. It kind of loses something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. One other last little tidbit that I'd like to throw out is one of the great things about Cypher's metal models is that because their games are so character-driven, and each model is a character, even your foot troops, they're all very unique. They're not the same pose or anything. So you've got you're moving something with heft that you've taken the time to assemble, usually by pinning, and it's got, I don't know, it's a lot easier than just pushing together something that just snapped together out of plastic from a sprue 10 seconds ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you form an attachment to the minis.
Yes.
Yep.
That they look good. Even the demons.
So yeah, my only criticism of this game would be similar to my criticism of Anima Tactics, was that not so much that it needs a refresh or a revamp. It could just use a little bit more support and attention from the manufacturer. And so maybe a few diehard Eldorado fans watching might feel a little bit more strongly than I do about that. But yeah, a little bit more hands-on from the manufacturers, and just and for the rest of us, just the ability to as ninjas to really get out and promote this amongst the I would say the veteran gamer crowd, the folks that are playing, say, the Warma Hordes, the folks that play stuff like Fantasy, Mordheim, Dark Age. I think that's where Eldorado can really find an audience. Malifaux players can also find some interest in Eldorado. So I really, really hope that the game sticks around and that we are able to find a little bit larger player base around it. And yeah, it's just one of my favorites, and I always carry it with me because you never know when you get a chance to play some Eldorado. All right, so we're going to move into our top 4. So this should be, from here, top 4, these are games that absolutely a lot of people have called out, and a lot of people have given very high ratings. So the top 4, a lot of these are from last year, but we've got some newcomers in here as well. So we're going to start with number 4, and we're going to have Phil lead us into this one, because this is another one of his babies, or we think, and that is Saga.
Yes.
Yes, Saga.
Well, Saga. It's Dark Ages. Dark Ages, semi-skirmish war games at about the 28mm scale. It's Saxons and Vikings and Scots and Normans and pagan Russ and all sorts of wonderful factions duking it out from about 4 or 500 AD till about 1066. As a caveat, they've also just come out with compatible rules for the Crusades called Crescent and the Cross. I haven't got my hands on a copy of those rules yet, but I hear it's a lot of fun and an improvement over the original Saga rules, which are challenging, tactical, and surprisingly deep. You've got a battle board with a list of commands and special abilities that each faction has. Some are for activation, and then some are particular to the faction. Like Saxons like to operate in hordes, and Jomsvikings tend to operate with a whole lot of wrath and fury. And based on how you roll Saga dice and plan ahead for your move, will dictate how the battle goes. And it's usually a pretty straightforward clash of two war bands fighting over a variety of different things, whether they're fords, a building, like a chapel or some sort, or just killing the other warlord in single combat. Defending a baggage train, that sort of thing. I love this game because it's fast, it looks gorgeous, and it appeals to a different kind of crowd. There's the very competitive crowd that likes to just slap together models, get into the tournament, and then crush all their opponents. I think that the Saga crowd that I've seen, at least, tends to be more thoughtful and take more time and care in the planning of the moves and the painting of the armies and getting into the history in addition to just the games.
Mm-hmm. Right, because this is definitely more of the historical game, and it's going to draw the historical game crowd to it. But it also has such wider potential as a game that it's drawn a lot of us over from the fantasy side of gaming over to this historical side.
Yeah, this is probably... It's definitely not sci-fi. It's almost fantasy because you've got, different abilities which improve your combat and things like that, but it's more just telling, just like the name says, an epic saga. It's legendary tales of heroism and defeat on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. So, this game, this is actually right where the game is sitting on my list. When we did this exercise last year, I believe Saga finished as the number 2 game, and the consensus was, hey, we should really be playing more Saga, because everybody agrees that they love the game, but we just, from a time and model standpoint, it sometimes can fall behind. My thought on Saga is, if I could clone myself and make another game promoter, that clone of me would be doing everything that I'm doing for Ninja for Saga. Seriously, because the game, I find the game to be that good. I love the idea of mixing it up and hanging out with those historical guys to play stuff like Saga. The Crescent and Cross expansion, I felt, was a really... It's not even really an expansion. It's a separate game unto its own. You could just buy Crescent and Cross and only play the Crusades. You actually have the full rule book as part of Crescent and Cross. And so, in my opinion, the game is a great game. It is one of those... it is slightly higher model count. It is 28 millimeters, so, and it's skirmish based, so you are limited in the amount of modeling opportunities that you actually get. But that said, you do get to paint camel riders if you are playing one of the Muslim states in Crescent and Cross. That's a big deal for me. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Some of my concerns with Saga is really more around the community, or the ability to build communities around it, because it is a historical game, so it takes a little bit more effort to kind of reach across the aisle there and engage the historical crowd. But that said, Phil's event this past summer, Saugust, I felt was really successful. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I just want to play more Saga. The thing is, it's like I really want to have an extra version of myself that plays more Saga, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only criticism that I would offer is that the website needs a little bit of an update. The Gripping Beast website, it just needs a little bit of an update to keep it more easily accessible, where you can find what you're looking for, as opposed to digging through long menus. Other than that, though, the company is they're great. They're very supportive of the community as a whole online. They proudly display pictures of other people's events and things going on around the world. I think the trick to this is not. I think the thing that we don't necessarily see all the time, based on the kinds of games and communities that we run in, they don't do so much just pickup games at local stores. They organize things at people's houses, and they organize events, and they go to tournaments, and they participate in these. I don't know. It almost feels more not regal, but more proper. It's just
More
a different way of
formal.
looking at the more formal. Yeah, thank you.
It's more traditional wargaming standards of things like playing all painted models, which is, by the way, horribly unpopular these days if you ask people to paint their models. But in the historical crowd, that resonates. That they care about capturing period, and they care about presenting a nice battlefield. Maybe a little bit more so than trying to tweak or power up a list. So there's something to be said about that.
Absolutely, and not just that, but some players have even known to show up in medieval tunics. Right, Corey?
Amazing.
Correct. Some of us like to play dress up every once in a while.
Hey, that was cool, man. I was glad to see it.
It got really hot after a while, though. I'll tell you that much.
That just told me that we need to invite Corey to come to go to Ren Fair with us this next year when we go again.
Hey, I'm down.
Corey, what are your comments on Saga, and what's your take on this game?
So I like it. I like that each faction has their own way of. There's only certain models you can take, or units that you can take, for each faction, I guess, or I don't know if it's considered factions or each army. There's only certain models that you can take as far as what units. I think that's really cool. Because not like for the Vikings, I can't actually have javelin throwers as a levy unit, and you can only take bowmen with them or something like that. I didn't know that until I started playing and read the rules. But I think that's pretty cool. Along with each one has like a special hero that they can take, and I just like the feel. It's pretty cool. It plays on a 2x3 map, and I think that's a pretty brutal game too at times. For the most part, I think the scenarios are pretty good too. I've only played maybe like 10 games, but out of the 10 games, I've enjoyed every single one of them I've played. So I'm down for playing that game too.
Yep, more Saga.
I'm just down for games, so
okay, any more comments about Saga before we move on to number 3 here? Okay. All right. Number 3, another perennial on our list here, and a popular one. Maybe not as much locally, but still very popular with us here, and that is Blood Bowl. Mark, do you want to kick off Blood Bowl here for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've seen played in a while, but there is that online league.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fun little I guess the term I'm looking for is beer and pretzels kind of game.
Okay.
Like the game really comes into itself when you play leagues, though. When that um, just straight exhibition matches compared to league matches, I find the um, the exhibition matches wanting.
Okay.
Interesting how you can have one little lineman be his own character and have his own backstory.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Um, any other? Who else wants to help kick off Blood Bowl here?
I
Well,
never played.
Blood Bowl is essentially fantasy football the way it's meant to be played. I mean, as far as I'm not going to watch regular sports games and see how Drew Brees did or anything like that. No, I want to see how my Rat Man did. The it's I find it a lot of fun. I never played before I met you guys, and then all of a sudden I've got a Chaos Dwarf team, and I'm just crushing people left and right, um, and getting crushed in return. But it's one of those games where it's for some reason everyone's luck goes sour right when you really need it not to, and it's incredibly frustrating that way. But it's also a lot of fun, like Mark said, when you've got the lone little lineman that you bought at base cost with no abilities or stat upgrades or anything, eventually becomes a star player because he's killed 2 people on other teams. He's caught 3 interceptions. He's made 4 touchdowns, and all sorts of things. And that's kind of satisfying, especially if you've got a model to represent that, and you can add little things to him over time. But or on an online league where it's just you've got this character and he's running around and doing all little dances and you can see him move. But my only complaint would be that sometimes the in-person games seem to go on so long.
Mm-hmm.
I know the turns are only supposed to be limited to 4 minutes, but even then, there's the time in between turns. It's almost as long as a regular football game. So
That's
The
true. That is very true.
the game goes for 24 turns or
16 turns.
yeah, 16 times
16
of 4
times 2.
minutes. It tends to that
yeah,
tends
it's
to
two
add up
hours.
very quickly.
Yep. It is a very long game for sure. Um, Blood Bowl for me is just its own unique experience. Okay, there's nothing. There are a lot of new sport games coming out now for miniature sports games, and I don't mean to knock those sports games because they do seem to be pretty good games, but I don't think anything thus far, anything that has come out it can be compared to Blood Bowl because Blood Bowl is just such a unique experience. It's still very standout game. There are no games that have mechanics like Blood Bowl does. Um, you you have to mitigate the amount of time that you're rolling dice, and that's very very different than every other game where it's I want to roll dice. I need to roll dice. Let me pick up dice. I'm going to add dice. Here comes more dice. Blood Bowl is the exact opposite. Blood Bowl, like Phil was pointing out, is a harsh mistress. She is a lifestyle coach. Okay, she will teach you things about yourself that you probably did not want to know. And I don't lightly. You really only have to jump in and play Blood Bowl to. It's like looking into it's like when Frodo is forced to look into that shallow dish and he sees his future and he reacts to it. That's Blood Bowl, man. That's what it is. You stare your weaknesses and in your heart in the face, and you come back and you say, I'm either going to stomach this or I'm going to turn around and look back. And that's, I don't know. Do you guys think I'm exaggerating here? Am I being a little dramatic? Because I don't think I am. I think that's, Blood Bowl teaches you shit like, yeah, you played the best game of your entire life. You played it absolutely great. You didn't make any huge mistakes. You were on top of your game, and you fucking lost 4-0. You know, that can happen in Blood Bowl. And it sounds terrible to be on the outside of that going, why the hell would I ever want to play that then? If you could play the best game ever and still get your ass handed to you, why would I want to play that? And
you can
to that I say,
pick up a goblin and eat it.
yeah, to that I say, it's because it's the highs and lows of that game are just completely unparalleled. Never before in any game, and not since, have I ever picked up a die roll and had 16 people staring at it intensely. I mean, the tension, you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. One die roll. And to see and to get people around a game, watching a game, and that excited about it, I've never seen anything like it, and I doubt I ever will see anything like that again. And I know that let's say a game like War Awards has a huge spectator following. I know that a lot of these sports games also have a huge spectator following, but again, I challenge you. There's nothing like Blood Bowl.
I think well, you're especially right. I mean, with regards to the moments that you remember, it wasn't even my game. I watched you play a game against Paul, and you had one of your janky little elves make 6 dodges in a row and go in for the touchdown.
Yeah.
I have never seen anything like that ever, and it defied all the laws of odds, physics, and just random probability, but you did it anyways, and you were laughing while you did it, and you watched his face fall. You know, any other game, you can say, oh, I rolled 3 6s and I blew up the Land Raider, or, you know, I rolled a 10 and got a critical hit, but that could have been any game. But no, that one game at Comic Quest, I was there, and it was just fun to watch. 6 dodges. Who does that?
Yeah, and it's a poor move. It's a poor move, but our God Nuffle will reward and punish us as he sees fit, and that's the only way I can describe it. I mean, Blood Bowl is okay. If you want me to be dramatic about it, Blood Bowl is a religion, but I really, for practical purposes, I will just call it a lifestyle. Or an experience. How about that? It's an experience. And yes, it's a long game. Yes, it has some really, really quirky mechanics, but I mean, this is a game where your list doesn't, you don't craft a list around your needs. You actually have to follow the needs of your list, if that makes any sense at all. You know, you actually have to follow the needs of your individual pieces, and you have to be able to progress. You have to have a plan of progression based, and that plan has to be very flexible throughout your league. You have to, oh, that's my star player. He's great. Oh, he's dead. What do I do now? You know, yeah. I can't tell you guys how many seasons that has happened to me, where my star player, in fact, Phil killed my last star player in that playoff game.
You're welcome.
That was a season I went undefeated with Los Pantalones, walked into a playoff game with Phil. He proceeds to murder the #1 quarterback in the league, just killed it. And of course we do the apothecary roll, and Phil again comes back with murder. There's really no way to describe it. And I'm sure all of you guys that don't play Blood Bowl are listening to this logically going, this is all stuff that we would be decrying or just so upset about if it existed in another game, right? Like, if I were to say, oh yeah, that game is unashamed unabashedly imbalanced. In fact, to the point where the creators will tell you these are good teams, these are bad teams, and we're cool with it. That's Blood Bowl, right? Yes, you can play the best game of your life and still get your ass kicked. That's Blood Bowl, and these are things that intuitively gamers should hate. But I'm telling you, you have not, in my opinion, you have not experienced one of the great corners or the niches of miniature gaming until you've played this game. And I'm not talking about playing it on the video version of it either, because the video game version of it, while good and while follows the mechanics, doesn't give you this attachment to these pieces the same way playing it on a board does. It doesn't give you that same tension that you get when you pick up those block dice and go, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I throwing this uphill block? I am a fucking idiot, and I'm going to throw this anyway because I got nothing better to do. So that's all I got to say. You can play it on, you can play it on Cyanide and enjoy it for what it is. But until, in my opinion, until you've painted a team, put it on a field, and build your team to make 6 dodges in a row and run into an end zone, you have not lived life.
Yeah, I think one of the most memorable experiences in watching a game I've had is watching one of Paul's rats dodge around Kevin's mummies and end up scoring a touchdown. That entire sequence was wrong.
Yes.
Just all wrong.
I don't know how many. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've yelled at the guy across from me. I'm like, don't do that. That's the worst move ever, and they score. Because that's Blood Bowl. There's really no other way to describe it. Blood Bowl, for me, will always be a top 3 game. Will always be a top 3 game, just because until somebody figures out how to bottle up all of that emotion and all that tension and put it in another system. Because to date, I don't think anybody has, and maybe I don't even want them to. Maybe I want Blood Bowl to be Blood Bowl, and I want no other game to be like it. But that might just be me. Some people hate Blood Bowl, hate it with a passion. And they tell me, I've never ever been mad at a miniatures game until I've played Blood Bowl. I've heard that this year. Somebody told me that, and I was like, yeah, because that's Blood Bowl. Of course you're gonna. No game will affect your psyche the same way Blood Bowl will, and I stand by that. I just don't. I don't think I don't think it's out there. So I'm like way on the deep end on this one. I don't know. Am I crazy or? What do you think? How does this sound? Corey, you haven't played Blood Bowl. How does this sound to you?
Sounds like I should try it.
Next week he's going to have 4 teams painted.
Next week he's going to have like 3 teams. He's like, what did you get me into?
Waiting in my closet right now. Are you saying I need to build them for Tuesday?
Well, we have extra teams. I mean, the demo. I'm going to tell you right now that you're not going to be impressed with the demo. We're going to have to throw you into a league at some point.
That's
and you're
fine.
going to be like, what the hell am I doing? And I think you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I think it's like drinking the water of life. You know, you bleed out of your eyes a little bit. Some nuns across the universe are bleeding, but then when your eyes open, you're like, sleep your eyes awaken, that kind of shit.
It's like a little eye blood. Don't worry about it.
Oh man, I do miss Blood Bowl, and we're playing it on Cyanide is fantastic, and it's good. It's much more convenient, but I really think that if you really, really want the experience that the game has to offer, you must play the miniatures version of it. And what do you think, guys? Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah. Because
go
ahead.
Well, the computer cheats.
Yeah, well, for one, yes, the computer does cheat.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
I think the computer version is more fun if you've already played the the miniatures version. I started off with Chaos Dwarves, and then I eventually picked up an Amazon team for miniatures. The cool thing about the video game is that it allows you to try a whole bunch of different teams, but you don't really get a feel for them until you've built them and you've lost with them and you've won with them and you've named each one of them something really goofy and off color.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow. I think I said my piece on Blood Bowl though, and that, yeah. And I know it sounds like just the most hammy exaggeration that you've ever heard, but I don't think you guys have ever heard me talk about a game like that. I don't think you guys have ever heard me refer to a game that the type of language I've been using here for Blood Bowl. But yeah, it's, what can I say? It really is something absolutely different, and I will always be such a fan because of that. Any other comments on Blood Bowl before we go into the top two, the exciting top two here?
So I've played Blood Bowl card game.
I'm sorry, what was that, Corey?
I've played Blood Bowl the card game. That's as far as I've got.
Okay. Yeah, I heard good things about that card game.
It's fun. I like it.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the top two here, and this is interesting because I think one of them probably we didn't really even see this game coming into the top 10 list at all, and the other one shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But we're gonna go into the number 2 game here, and I'm gonna have Corey kick this one off. This is gonna be Super Dungeon Explorer. Ooh, what a shock! There's like all the ninjas on this show, and we picked Super Dungeon Explorer as our number 2 game.
You want me to kick this off?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so of all the ninja games I've played, this is actually the one I've played the least of, unfortunately.
Okay.
I will do the best I can since I've only played it maybe a handful of times. So you have unique heroes, and then you have the console. Is the main game mode correct as of right now? And
yep.
Basically you're playing against you have a group of heroes playing against basically the dungeon master, if I can call it that.
The console.
Yeah, his name is the console basically. And what he does is he summons monsters from these spawn points, and the goal of the heroes is to destroy them and steal all the treasures. There's also arena mode. That is very fun to play, where you basically play hero versus hero. And I wish I could do more on Super Dungeon Explorer. It's something that I'm really trying to get more into. Just I don't really have a lot of support down here for too much miniatures or soda pop or Cypher, so that's about as best I can do for you right now.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool. Last year at this time, we were talking about bringing Super Dungeon Explorer into our convention show, and that met with some mixed reviews from our internal team at the time. And the reason why it did is because initially we had some bad experiences with the game. We felt that there were some things that the game itself needed to fix before we were ever really going to dive into it. And so it looked like, there was a time when it looked like this game wasn't really going to be amongst our favorite games. And it took a revisit to the game, an intentional revisit to the game, to try out the arena mode, which to me helped revive my interest in the game, because even though our classic mode I had kind of burned out on, I still really enjoyed painting the miniatures, and as you can see. Um, and so arena mode kind of, to me, fixed a lot of the things that I took issue with the classic mode. And so what arena mode did was it forced me to go back to classic mode, and I find when I went back to classic mode that there was a lot of shit that I was just doing wrong, flat out, and that classic mode is actually a pretty damn fun game when you understand, when you've played a few games of it, and when they've cleaned up a few things, and you can see that the game moves at a much better pace than you historically recall. So the plan last year was to jump into this game because we knew that it had crazy crossover potential. We knew that the people wanted to buy and collect these miniatures, but may not necessarily know how to play the game. And so we dove back in. We gave SDE another go, and it's been a rewarding ride ever since. SDE is a highly thematic game, and you have to take it as such. It's a theme game. You play it specifically for theme. You don't really play. In my opinion, I don't think you really play classic mode with the intent that you are going to, pull off some groundbreaking maneuver, or you're going to solve world hunt, anything like that. You play classic mode because it plays like a video game. You like the piece that you're putting on the board, and you want to roll a bunch of stars and blow shit up. And if you can do that and be okay with the timing and really enjoy the modeling and the 3D stuff, like the stuff that Phil has built this past year, then I think this game is a really, really strong game, and it's going to appeal to a lot of people, and and we've seen that it has. I do feel that there are some that if you don't know what you're doing, you might fall into the trap that I felt we were in, where the game can drag on unnaturally long. There are also mechanics that can be exploited to a degree that a lot of mainstay miniature gamers may not be comfortable with. And that seems to be like a theme amongst soda pop games, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I mean, it clearly is, to my mind, this game clearly is looking for a slightly different audience than your 40K, Warmahordes typical player. And I hate the stereotype, but I mean, the little more seriously strategic and tactically minded guy, may enjoy SDE, but I don't know that a lot of them do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mark?
I think I just wasn't too fond about classic mode until we really knew more of what we were doing.
Okay.
And until I played the PvP arena a bit and understood how the characters are supposed to actually work. And it really isn't like anything I've played before.
Mm-hmm.
Because the progression of it is a little bit more random than you'd expect from a game like that to be.
Okay. Any comments from you, Phil?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun demoing this at Comic-Con last year. It was great because all I had to do when people walked up was say, imagine an 8-bit video game translated to the tabletop. Then boom, everybody had the right mindset. And as long as as long as I've been playing it, which admittedly isn't very long, but every time I play, I have an 8-bit soundtrack going on in my head. I think that one thing that helps classic mode out a lot is the fact that they've released, Soda Pop has released a revised rule book for classic mode that answers a lot of questions and rephrases things ever so slightly so that it's easier to understand and get it right. Because the rulebook, when it first, the edition that I have, is not really all that user friendly. PvP became a lot of fun to experiment with different minion squads and gave you a reason to expand your collection significantly. And it was also a great way to get new players into the game at a relatively quick pace. Classic mode can be a bit longer if you're a first-time player, but I'm looking forward to the future of SDE with regards to things like the Kickstarter that just finished up, Forgotten King, and the single-player modes that they've got coming out for it. That looks like a lot of fun, and some streamlining and simplification of the rules and the cards, which will help. But overall, I love the aesthetic. I like the fact that I'm reminded of all those video game consoles, which I think is why they call the bad guy the console, because it sounds so much like console, like you would originally play this thing on. And you know, with boss monsters and you know, minions and just stupid things with potions and hearts and all sorts of stuff just hopping out all over the place.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, the thing about SDE for me is I took a hiatus from SDE from buying it. I think I bought it in 2011 or 2010, whenever it first came out. We got on board. We thought the miniatures were phenomenal. Loved the chibi style. Painted everything, and then started to play it. But you know, we ended up taking a break from the game. But the thing is, even while we were on hiatus from this game, I could not, for the life of me, let go of the theme. I loved the theme, and any excuse to pick up these miniatures again and play them, such as Arena, and collect them, was a good reason for me to continue. And I should also point out that some of the voting I got, people were very distinctive, and they said SDE Arena specifically. That Arena mode really saved this game for them, and it ever since I've gone back to, I mean, I almost have a production scale painting operation going just for SDE, because I get a lot of inquiry about it. It really is, like Mark said, it's a very different game. It's a very unique feel, a very unique theme, and you know, there are other chibi games out and there are other chibi models out, but those aren't actually in the same vein. You know, Arcadia Quest is a decent game, but you know, I played that with Corey, but it's not, you know, it's not supposed to be a video game. It's not supposed to be a dungeon crawl. Arcadia Quest is a very different game. Really, the only thing that this game has in common with Arcadia Quest is the chibi styling. But otherwise, they're very different games. Your thoughts on that, Corey? Because I know you play Arcadia Quest, and I know that that you are a fan of both games.
Yeah. Sarah, I think, is a bigger fan of Arcadia Quest than I am. She's always bothering me to play it more and more, and I'm like, well, let's play Relic Knights. But I think it's an interesting game because you got so many models to choose from, and you're playing against each other at the same time you're not playing against each other. So you got all these monsters to deal with, but at the same time you've also got your opponent that you're trying to deal with as well. it's pretty cool because there's basically a campaign mode you play through, and you're basically leveling up your characters as you go. I think it's a really simple game, really easy, and then it's something to break out of once in a while. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm bigger a fan of SE than I am of SE class. I just buy all the
King,
that's my problem.
real. Sorry.
I said I guess I just buy the Kickstarters. That's my big problem. I buy these random Kickstarters.
So yeah, I'm with Phil. I'm really looking forward to full co-op mode with Forgotten King, and also campaign mode. Sounds really promising. So looking forward to that as well. But yeah, SDE it's had a revival with us here. It's no, it's no secret that at least some of that had to do with us joining Ninja. And being required to look game again, but yeah, it's just a great experience. And for a while there, before when I need a break from the skirmish games, what I was doing is I would just show up to board gaming stuff and just bring SDE because it's actually pretty good gateway drug into board gaming and miniature gaming. It's a pretty good entry point because it just appeals to a lot of different fandoms, and the mechanics are pretty simple. So there's a lot to be said about that. Any comments about SDE before we move on to our number one game? Okay, good. So, our number one game should not be a surprise to anybody that's been watching this channel or my brother's channel or just kind of knows what we've been up to lately. The number one game right now is Relic Knights. So, who wants to kick off the Relic Knights discussion here? Okay. Am I still? I'm still online. Okay, yes, I am still online. Are you guys tired or?
I just know where to
I will go ahead.
So awesome.
I'll go ahead and kick off the Relic Knights discussion here. So, Relic Knights is, I guess, it's the game that nobody really understood. There was a lot of mystery surrounding this game, both in terms of when it was actually going to show up by a Kickstarter, and then how to actually play it when we got it. So very misunderstood game early on. It had all kinds of just crazy, crazy upside down mechanics. It breaks a lot, and I mean a lot, of your standard miniature skirmish gaming laws. In that, no deployment zone, no turn structure. You can totally play this game without killing a single model. And so
No dice.
No dice. And so this game comes out, and it's just completely different. Very different experience. Some people were still sore about the Kickstarter experience, and I don't blame them for that. So when it finally came out, it shows up towards the end of auction season, and I go in a scramble to paint stuff up, learn the game, and I start to play it. And I'll be honest with you, my first foray out with this game, I didn't really know what to make of it because I felt like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the very first demo I had of the game, which was at Gen Con, I was not impressed with this game, and you guys have watched the show for a long time recall that I came back from Gen Con going, wow, I was really disappointed in Relic Knights. As it would turn out, that the demo I got in Gen Con was really bad. And you know, it was a really nice guy that ran it for me, but I don't think he understood the game. So that's both a blessing and a curse. Relic Knights is, again, it's a very, very different game. It uses very, very different mechanics. It has this incredible anime sci-fi theme that I have just been a fan of my entire life, and was dying to see something like this in a miniatures game. And as a game, you pick it up, and it's almost like if you don't have experience with miniatures games, you might actually have an easier time grasping the concepts of this one, because you know a lot of the stuff that we do here flies in the face of your traditional miniatures game. The game is a V1, and it is a deep and rich game. So understand that the drawbacks to this are going to be a steep learning curve. There's going to be some bugs, going to be some things you're going to feel need to be errated immediately because you had a bad experience with it. But my advice to those of you that are looking to get into this game is as follows. Understand the core concepts and build your understanding in layers. And when you run across, when you inevitably, and I mean inevitably, when you inevitably come across something that seems mind-numbingly broken, do not jump to the conclusion that the game is mind-numbingly broken, because you are discovering this game in layers. And fairly soon, I can guarantee to you that within whatever faction you're playing, you're going to stumble into something that seems mind-numbingly broken on your side. And just understand that this game really is about turning shit on its head and you know, doing away with conventional thinking, and think about a permissive rule set. So think about stuff like that you wouldn't even consider in any other game. For example, picking up and moving objectives is just not something that you would ever consider in another game. It's just not even heard of. Like, and objectives kind of being treated like models, and the way squads work are completely different than your typical miniatures war game. So there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen when you play this game. But trust me, if you are into that high tactical, you can think on your toes, can adjust on the fly, and you love an anime theme, you will not be disappointed in this game. It's you know, every day that I've been playing it, I feel like I learned something new, and I can't wait to play it again every single time I play it. But yeah, it really is a different creature, and this game was #1 on my list and #1 on a number of people that participated in our little survey. So yeah, there you go. That's a pretty long intro there. Who wishes to jump in and talk a little bit about RK here?
I will.
Okay.
I got my first game of this at Comic-Con, and I was demoed the game, and 10 minutes later I was teaching someone else how to play. That's how straightforward it was to jump into, but it takes forever to get all the little nuances, and I'm not sure I ever will. It's a combination of resource management and spatial awareness drill, all bathed in 1980s anime. And the models are good, and it's unapologetic. It just, they're out there, bam. I mean, just take a look at Suicide Queen for proof of that. But it's fun, it's fast, and if you don't play with the standard gaming mindset of kill everything and actually play to the objectives, like you should in most every game, you will find great success and have a lot of fun. I enjoy how easy the models are to put together. They look gorgeous. They're all plastic, and they're a lot of fun to assemble. And it's the whole thing, the concept, the models, the game, cards. It's all very intuitive.
Okay.
So that's me.
All right. Who's up? Who else wants to chime in here on Relic Knights?
I can.
Okay, go ahead. I will.
Okay.
Thing that I noticed with Relic Knights is that sometimes people's first experiences with it are a little apprehensive, but as we've learned more about it and figured out that squads are not completely useless, it's sort of formed a niche of it in and of itself. That makes sense.
Yeah. It kind of has its own, I guess, personality, and it attracts people that are kind of, slightly left of center from the typical wargaming crowd.
Yeah, just like the space monkeys, I didn't know I wanted them until I knew they existed.
Okay. Corey, any thoughts?
If you're not playing this game, you should be. Uh, I don't know. I guess everyone's kind of game. For me, I've never been. I want to say I've never been more into a youth game than I have with this. Um, there's just so much. There's so much stuff to this game. Like you set up like the setup of the game, and you set up your objective wrong, you have lost the game. And I think for some people that's a big turnoff, but for me, that's something that's like you got to plan out what you're going to be doing. You need to know what you're doing and what you're playing. And if you don't, you've lost the game just by placing your objective in the wrong spot. For me, it's a learn as you go since everyone's still really new. And like you said, you're learning something every week. I feel like there's a lot more to learn this game than the 100 times I've played this. But I don't know. For me, this game is something that I've planned to play for a very, very long time. And there's nothing. I'm just really impressed by it. I don't know what else I can say about it. I'm just really impressed by the game.
I like to think that a well thought out approach to playing Relic Knights is almost like you are trying to pull off a caper as a player. You're trying to pull off. You're trying to basically pull off a crime, and you're trying to do it in the fewest number of activations and in the craftiest manner possible. Okay, this isn't not necessarily, although you can play it that way. It's so compared to other war games, it's so not focused on the removal of enemy models as it is just really playing to your scenario. And the more efficiently you can pull off your scenario, the more efficiently you can thwart your opponent, the better you're going to be at this game. It really is more of a jockeying for position and stealing initiative and staying ahead of your opponent in terms of activations, and all the while managing a number of resources. The game interface can be a lot to take in all at once, so you are going to have to spend a little time just absorbing some key concepts before you really get into the thought of crafting strong lists and comparing units' abilities one versus the other. And I know that most gamers are so excited to do that exercise that they're going to try to skip over some of the other nuances, like, oh, you mean I can redirect to this model. I can do that to boost markers. I can place an AoE anywhere in line of sight. There is stuff that there is a tactical part to this game to where it will reduce the dominance or the preeminence of having to craft an uber list for. And to me, that's a huge selling point for playing the game. So yeah, and so the reason why this made it to my number one is because I get a lot out of a 60-minute game of Relic Knights. I get a lot of thinking. I get a lot of tactics. I get a lot of theme out of a single game of Relic Knights, and it's very different from my typical skirmish war game, and I prefer it as such. And yeah, I think I've rambled on enough about that one. Anybody else have any comment on Relic Knights?
I think that it's interesting how, even without reading their backstory, you can kind of form attachments to certain minis. Like, like I'm painting up the prefix right now, and I'm getting even more excited about trying them out on Friday.
Okay.
And like how I remember when I was painting the cosplay Rin Pharaoh model, I was just excited to get it and get it on the table.
Yeah, the cosplay models are really cool because I love how this game. I love how it just unabashedly will reference favorite anime or favorite even like video game characters. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, and so this year, number one game is Relic Knights. So, I'm not really surprised by that based on the people that we polled. Obviously, I mean, there's still parts of this. There are still game stores where you could walk in and say, "Hey, I play Relic Knights," and people will say, "Well, what's that?" So this really is only reflecting upon the folks involved in this poll. That said, we do feel that that might actually be saying something about your greater meta and some stuff that you might look forward to if you are from a different region, or you might be interested. You might hear this and you might be interested in maybe picking up the game yourself and trying it out. So. Hopefully you are, because I mean we would encourage you to pick up really any of these games in the top 10. I feel are all really solid games and worth a look if you haven't. If you're on the fence and you haven't tried anything yet, I think we have a good set of games here, top to bottom. So, some questions here before we close out the show, and I know we are at the 2-hour mark here, so we're gonna at least close out our topic. I might still paint for a little bit longer, just because I'm enjoying it. But let me ask. I'm gonna go around and ask you guys a couple of questions, and I'll start with Phil again because I know he's probably getting tired here. Phil, any predictions for 2015? What do you see any games that are on the horizon that are either just launching or about to be launched that you think might have a significant impact on our gaming in 2015?
On our gaming is
like locally.
Yeah, that's an interesting caveat. The only games that I'm really aware of as far as launching that could potentially impact would be I know that Kings of War by Mantic just is in the process of launching, and given their success in our region with other games of theirs, I think it's got a lot of potential. I'm not sure that I'd be playing it just because it looks like a large-scale, multi-unit, 60-plus model count type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, obviously, Infinity version 3 is coming out, and I hear good things about that. I'm pretty certain most folks are going to give that a try next year. I don't know what else. Forgotten King will revitalize a lot of the Super Dungeon Explorer activity, especially at conventions, and it'll also open up a lot of opportunity for more demos all over the place, especially if because it goes kind of that middle ground between board game and tabletop war game. So it's got more appeal than just, say, Eldorado or even a full-on miniatures game, Relic Knights, that sort of thing. But
Okay.
other than that, new things that we're looking at, yeah, it's hard to say.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts or predictions on next year? Are they going to be? Are we missing any majorly impactful games that you think are about to come out?
Is this to me? Oh, Corey. Okay.
This is open. Whoever wants to answer.
Oh, doesn't Corey go first?
Okay. I honestly have no idea. I think Relic Knights is hopefully going to continue to get some more recognition. I've noticed a lot more people are talking on the Facebook page than when it first started. That's always a good thing. And I think Super Explorer is going to get a little bit bigger too, since they did a lot of good promoting that game at all the conventions. Other than that, I don't really know. I mean, I think it's going to blow up pretty soon too, because of from what I've heard and what I have heard, Edition 3 is really good. So I think that's going to hit everyone soon, and everyone's going to get into that as well. Other than that, I think Kings of War is probably going to be pretty good too, just because Mantic's been on a pretty good roll with stuff. Dead and Dreadball, the new one that just came out, I want to say it's Extreme.
Yeah.
A lot of the backers just got that, and I hear it's going to be really good. A little bit different rules, or some concepts, I think. A few different rule changes for that, but I think that's going to get pretty big too. And I think that's all I got right now.
Okay. Cool. I think overall, one of the things that we learned in 2014 with all these Kickstarters starting to ship and starting to show up, and the local scene either picking them up or abandoning them, I think one of the major factors in whether or not a game is going to stick is going to be how fast you can actually go from package to play. So these games if Mantic, and I think Mantic hangs their hat on that they're few pieces, and you can just break open your Kickstarter, or you can spend a minimal amount of money and get that stuff on the board and start playing immediately. So one of the things that I'll be looking at next year are, as some of this stuff shows up, is how fast will you be able to get people actually playing it, right? Because in the case of Relic Knights, I would say one of the major hindrances, even though we're rating it our #1 game and everyone here plays the shit out of it, one of our major hindrances was how that Kickstarter kind of trickled out, and waiting for people to build up their collection, and just now we're starting to find our footing, and we're going into our con season. So I think what Phil was saying about our mainstay games and going into next season, they're going to remain the same, at least for this group. We're going to stick. We're going to have our bread and butter games. We're going to add to our season games for sure. Infinity is on the horizon. I don't know though if that's going to stick. I just don't know enough about Infinity to know if it sticks around or if it doesn't. as these Kickstarters start to show up, again, the big difference there is going to be how fast can we get it going. One game we didn't even talk about tonight was Robotech, and I have Robotech, and the reason why I don't feel that we're talking about it is because it's just going to take so long for those of us who have it to put everything together and then actually put it on the board. And I think that's going to be a major hindrance for something like Robotech. And so I'm concerned about Robotech really not seeing its potential as a game because of administrative issues with it, with building and the number of models involved. You might see the same thing in like Kings of War, Wrath of Kings. That's a game that I think a number of people are in the Kickstarter, a number of people will get. So it'll be really interesting to see if those people can actually put things together, paint them in our case, and then mobilize a community around them. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't even know if some of these manufacturers care if you do that, to be honest with you. So yeah, I would say next year we probably will see some movement in, say, the number 4 game down. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement in the top 3 for us. I think it's pretty much going to be similar. So, one final question before we close out the night here, and I'm going to ask this of those of you who are watching as well. If you want to go ahead and enter this in the comment section, that would be great too. Can you guys give me a game that you would want to receive as a gift this year? Now, a game that you haven't backed and you're kind of interested in, and it would be cool if it did show up, on your doorstep for Christmas.
I can think of a few.
Drop Zone Commander.
Drop Zone Commander. Okay, cool. Anyone else?
Do I have to pick just
Corey
one?
owns all the things.
Yeah, Corey.
Well, you don't have to just pick one. You can name a few if you want.
Well, we've got a whole list of board games going that we want to play, or that I want to buy at least. I'm really looking.
Can you let's do?
So the War of the Ring, the new
Okay.
Hobbit. I'm really wanting to get that one.
Okay.
I want to get into Drop Zone Commander. I also want to get into the. I think it's Firestorm Armada is coming out with a 2-player server set. Or it's already out. I want to get into that.
Okay.
And then we've got this entire list of goodies here that we are working on buying. Everything. I just want a game store. That's what I want.
Just all the time.
Just want all the
Okay.
games delivered to my front door.
What about you, Mark?
I think one of the big ones sitting on my list currently is Arena Rex for starters.
Okay.
I think I'd like to see more Lord of the Rings being played.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Lord of the Rings. Interesting.
You know about the miniatures game?
What?
Are you talking about Lord of the Rings miniatures game?
Yeah.
Well, you let me know when you want to play. That was my number 2 on my list.
Oh.
That was your number 2 on your list.
Don't you make promises you can't keep.
Cool.
Another one. I kind of want to. I think I kind of want more of this one to be good than I want to see it. But I kind of want Infinity to be good.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I do want. I have faith. I think it will be. I think it will be good. At least good enough for us to enjoy a few games of it.
You gotta believe in the monkey.
Believe in the monkey. As for me, I would not mind. I would not mind it if some Batman the Miniatures game showed up at my door.
Ah, that one too.
That's a cool one that I did not get in on. Mark has been teasing us with the miniatures, and they played it. they played at least a game of it at this point up at JJ's.
I've played 2 games.
Okay.
The playstyle is kind of similar to IHMN,
Okay.
except that it's a little bit more sane.
Okay.
Like it's not unbelievable that these characters would have these stats.
I see. Okay.
It's like you're not going to need to roll a 13 on a D10 or anything insane like that.
Okay. So yeah, for me, Batman the Miniatures game, Onimata. Still looking for that game, the 5-minute Japanese chess game. Still want to get my hands on Onimata. And I guess if I were to pick a third one, because I'm lying and I'm cheating on my own question here, I would have to say I'd like to see a little more Bushido. I think Bushido's interesting to me, and I wouldn't mind seeing it. It doesn't look like anything I want to spend money on right now, but if it showed up at my front doorstep, I would not be complaining. So, Phil, what about yourself? Any wish list stuff for you?
I think, well, yeah, Drop Zone Commander would be nice to see show up. I'd like to see more Star Trek Attack Wing ships. That would be fun. I'd like to play more of that. And,
yeah, I still need to try that.
Oh, it's lots of fun.
Oh yeah.
And then beyond that, I'm actually pretty well saturated with games right now. So.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I think that's going to do it for our topic. Do you guys have any other final thoughts here on 2014 gaming, anything like that?
No, just thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys hopping on. All right, so I am actually pretty close to finishing Calico Kate here. I'm going to stay on for a bit. You guys are free to stay on with me and just ramble if you want. If not, have a good night. But yeah, I'm going to finish this little lady here.
All right, have a good one, guys.
All right, good night, Phil. Thanks for joining.
So then I have a question.
Sure.
So for 2014, since this is the wrap up, what game would you guys have liked to play more of?
Oh, this is an easy one for me. Go ahead. Do you have one, Mark?
I have 2. One
All
of
right.
them is Anima, and the other is Eldorado.
Nice. Yeah, I have 3. One is Heldorado. The other one is Heldorado, and finally, Heldorado.
Oh.
I mean, when we did the list, when I did my list, I literally had to debate myself as to why Heldorado was not number 1. And sadly, one of the reasons was that we just not getting enough games of it in.
Mm-hmm.
I really do enjoy that game, and I want to play more of it because I don't think that we have really jumped into some really cool areas of that game. So
I agree.
yes. What about you, Corey? What game do you think you haven't played enough of?
Well, being that I'm down here, and a lot of people aren't interested in like the Enema Tactics or Eldorado or SDE. I would have found myself I really wanted to play a lot more Enema Tactics.
Yep.
And originally I didn't even know what the game was. I saw the model and was like, oh, those are cool, I'll buy those. And then it turned into a whole, oh wait, these guys are the same as Heldorado? And then it was like, oh hey, Octave's doing Heldorado now? I should jump in on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got started in Anima a similar way.
Yeah. I just saw the models. I was like, these are pretty nice models. I don't know what type of game it is, but I'll buy the rulebook anyways. I spent like $200 on models in the rulebook, and
I accidentally $200.
yeah,
Yeah. The way we started with Anima was it was Mark's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, we're at Monster, and I'm like, hey, Mark, let me buy you something for your birthday. And he's like, yeah, I want to play Anima Tactics. And I was like, oh, I've always loved those miniatures, and I gained some. So I think I bought you the rule book, right?
Yeah.
I bought you the rule book that day,
Mm-hmm.
and then we each started. We just bought a small collection of models, and that's where it started. Like, brought that home. I painted a starter set, and then I was like, wow, why haven't I been painting these before? They're fantastic. Um, but yeah, it's just Anima's just a good game. It's not. I I would love to write some scenarios for it though. I
yeah,
just think it just needs a few more scenarios. It needs some scenarios. It needs uh, it could use a revamp on the card format.
yeah, definitely.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's some cool shit in Anima that people overlook all the time, and I'm talking about intercepts, diving charges. There's cool shit in that game that sadly I don't think we see enough of.
I
But
hate the dodges. It makes me so mad. Just like I was like, I'm gonna shoot you. He's like,
No,
I'll
no.
spend an action point. I will dodge, and it looks like your powerful attack just missed.
hmm
It
It's
gives me that
I have two
that
minds
feeling
about
of
the dodges.
yeah. It gives me that feeling of like I'm
hmm
either like watching the show or I'm there and I'm seeing this guy just barreling down at this guy, and all of a sudden this guy's like, I'm gonna dodge out of the way, and either he trips and he
I'll
falls
show
and he
you.
traps, or he dodges out of the way and the guy's like, what the heck happened there?
hmm
There's
No, I
just
hear
certain
you.
things you gotta go about the game to like play it. I feel like it's another game that has a few levels to it that you've got to figure out first. Just figure out how the models work, and then from there figure out what models to start with to activate to make the other player use his action points to then come with the big hitter. I think this game's got a lot more to it than I realized.
Yeah, we had some rough early games of Anima when we started playing because it was like, oh, I attack, I dodge, I attack, I dodge, I attack, I dodge, and that's all we did. And we were like, this game you can never hit with anything. Um, it isn't until you start actually playing to expect people to dodge and you start trying to sap their AP
Yeah,
and like kind of vet a target for destruction, that the game gets really excited. And then because the game, you're either going to dodge an attack entirely, or if one lands, then it does like 5 billion damage to you.
yeah,
Um, and like the game that Mark and I had the other night was a really fun game. It was really fun. It was a really intense game. Um, there was a lot of there's a lot of attack and defend going on, and I felt we were being pretty sharp about when to apply our attacks, when not to.
yeah.
I don't know. What did you think of that game last night, Mark?
I thought um it was really good and really sort of dis displayed the things that I like about Anima, and that in one turn you can be just focused on smashing face, and then the next you have to run away because you didn't smash face good enough.
That is a good way of putting that. You did not smash face good enough.
There were faces left unsmashed that should have been smashed.
Not enough smash face.
Although I will
Clearly.
probably end up fielding Team Topless again.
Yeah. That was a pretty cool build.
Yeah, it's a lot of offense. But I think I can maybe throw Bale in at larger game. just have some support.
What
I
did you
think
think
there's-
of my my Whiz and Shaft build?
It was pretty great.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
all the range
Sorry.
really affects somebody who only has melee attackers and like one ranged. But then again, my one ranged was Morgana or Morgan, and I don't think she should count because she is amazing.
Yes. What were you gonna say, Corey?
I didn't want to interrupt you guys. We're talking about the game, but there's two other ones that I wanted to get more of this year for gaming too. I don't know if
Okay.
you guys are playing 15 mil sci-fi or anything like that, but I got introduced to grunts at GigaCon, and
Mm-hmm.
15 mil, I spent $40 and I had an entire army. That's all I needed. And
That's cool.
pretty cool because 15 mil is like there's so many different rule sets out there to choose from. I would have liked to get a lot more games of that in. I did get a few in with David. We played a lot of games this year, but I feel like I wanted to get a few more in. And then the last one is Mercs, the miniatures game, Mercs, yeah, where you have like a card that actually uses something to move.
They have so much mercs at CQ that every time I walk past it, I'm like, I should just play it just because this store carries so much of it.
It's interesting. I've only played like one or two games of it. I feel like it is kind of the game is very challenging at times because at any one time you might have a 30% chance to hit somebody, and that's the highest stat you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to hit someone in the game, but the models are really nice, and I just think it's something that I feel like I want to play a few more games of. It's something I want to try to play more of. But that's another one I really wanted to play a few more games.
I want to get a demo of Warzone Resurrection, just because I have such fond memories of the original Warzone. But I don't know if I want to play it. I just want to see it in action again. Yeah, there's lots of games like that that are just kind of hanging out that I like in theory. My one issue is with all of the, like currently right now there are so many sci-fi games out. You know, Dead Zone, Infinity, Relic Knights, Anima Tactics to a degree. There's a lot of them. If you look at sci-fi skirmish games, it's a huge year for sci-fi skirmish games, and I'm wondering, like, which of these do I actually like? What would I, you know, it's very difficult to justify after we play Relic Knights, Anima Tactics, and then soon we'll pick up Infinity. It's like, okay, I think we're pretty much set in the sci-fi skirmish game category, but there's still so many out there, like Merc, you know, like these other games. It's like, okay, well, are we going to have room for that? Should we have room for it? Are we not playing one that's really good that we don't know about? I'll bring up the example Dark Age, which is sort of a sci-fi kind of post-apocalyptic game, which is kind of cool. But you know, that game has some legs to it, but I don't know. I looked at it before and I was like, oh, it's kind of like inferior Eldorado, so I passed on it. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think what we're seeing is just a natural sort of boiling point where sci-fi is becoming more and more popular in general culture. That
Mhm.
more and more people are saying, let's make games based off of this because people seem to be liking the sci-fi.
hmm What about the fact that this year we didn't talk about a single zombie game on our show? It was interesting.
I think that's because everybody.
Zombicide was on the top 10 last year, I believe, and we didn't even bother talking about it this year. Are zombie games dead, you guys think?
I think zombies in general just have this state of constantly being in flux, where if they're really popular one year, then the next year they kind of won't be, but they'll pick back up again the year after that.
Okay.
I don't think I think it's still gonna stay this way, yeah, for a few more years. I feel like people are still coming out with all the zombie games. I feel like what's coming into really big right now. Um, I'm a big fan of, well, as you know, and everyone seems to know now that I'm a big surfer of Kickstarter. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of post-apocalyptic style games going on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was there was like a post Z-apocalypse, I think, was one, and uh, there was
Yeah,
another zombie miniatures game that was local. It was like a Sacramento-based company made one.
yeah. I feel like those are gonna start coming in soon. I feel like there's lots of movies, and it's kind of like it's everyone on. For some reason, like on everyone's mind, like this apocalypse thing or whatever, for some random reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I was looking at Kickstarter, and there's a new tile style game of this fog that basically rolls in and destroys whatever's there, and you're trying to like fight back the fog. It looks pretty cool, but I feel like within the next couple of years, I think there's gonna be a lot more apocalypse games coming out, more than zombie games.
Okay. Okay. Do you think in 2015 we'll end up with more fantasy style games with like Kings of War? We've got Wrath of Kings coming out, and I don't know what other large Kickstarters are coming out.
I'm gonna have to say no. I don't think we're gonna see more. I think we're gonna see about the average size for fantasy. Um,
Okay.
I can't really give you an average. I don't really know all that stuff. But I feel like you're gonna see those Kickstarters every once in a while because everyone still loves fantasy style stuff. But I feel like it's gonna be more sci-fi, more anime, and more post-apocalyptic stuff that's gonna be coming out. And then you might have every once in a while you have maybe like a fantasy style game coming out. Maybe every once in a while you'll see a zombie game. But I feel like that's where a lot of games are going now, is more towards the sci-fi, anime, post-apocalyptic theme stuff going on right now.
Do you, what do you see any other like specific anime games that are going to come out? I can't seem to think of any offhand, but I don't know if there are. There might be.
I haven't really seen too many. I just feel like right now, I mean, I'm not just in our local area, but it seems like a lot of stuff. Everyone's getting into the anime style stuff. It could just because I'm playing more Relic Knights and more on tactics that I'm thinking this, but um,
Well, there is Robotech that just came
yeah.
out. And there might be a few. I'm right now. I hope that like next year, this time, that I can actually come back and say, yeah, Robotech was a good game. What the fuck was I talking about? 2014. I hope so. I do. I just right now I'm a little discouraged with the size of the model count of the game and the building deterrent. I'm a little disappointed in that, but I'm going to give it an honest go. I love Robotech. I love the IP. So we'll see how that goes. Cool. So here's Kate. She's just about done.
Alright, so I should show you our theme. I already told Octave our theme for the Thirsty. Bear's got 3 of them done now.
Oh, come on, focus. Focus.
Focus.
Focus. Damn it. Not gonna focus. Oh, I guess I might as well start painting in some of his white.
So we went with the
That's cool. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That's one of them. she's still working on this one. This one looks pretty cool too. So she's been rocking it.
Sweet. Is that
I
a
told her
Tron
she could start
thing?
painting Cersei. She's painted everything else, and then this is what I got done.
Nice little Claude Valmore action there.
Oh yeah, I need more. I need more models. Actually, some of the paints. That's what I need.
Yeah, I'm gonna paint this guy's armor in white. Little Sebastian Cross here.
So I've come up with a New Year's resolution for myself. And
Okay.
anyone else got one? Anyone thought up yet? Do you guys have anything going on for those yet?
For what?
For New Year's resolution?
I don't have one.
I've decided to go with I need to be painting at least one thing a night. Not I like to just sit there and I'll paint one little piece of something and then I'll lay back on the couch for about 20 minutes. And then I'll paint another little piece and I'll sit back on the couch for 20 minutes. My goal is to be focused on painting for at least an hour to 2 hours a night on at least one model.
I can't really do that. Like, once I start painting something, if I don't finish it either that day or the next day, it will drive me insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me too, but then I look at him and it's like, oh, I've got to paint, come on.
That sounds harsher than I feel. Like I paint stuff, and if I don't finish it, then it does scream at me in my brain. But I can let it sit for a little while.
It's probably because my painting area is also in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
I
could be.
see it sitting on there mocking me.
Yeah, I will eventually have to move my painting area back to my bedroom because I've got to clear out this room. You know, eventually it will become a children's cell. So I got to get back to that. I guess if I'm going to have a painting goal or something for 2015, I guess it would be that I don't bounce too much between projects. You know,
Okay.
once I get started on painting a set, I will paint it all the way through. Case in point, I still have 4 Arena Rex models to be painted. I still have this set to finish painting. I still have Caverns of Roxor to paint, and they're all like mostly like 80 to 90% done. There's like little bits and pieces that I leave behind. And sometimes I like that I've left stuff behind because you get desperate and you're like, oh, I want to paint something from this range. And if you have 1 or 2 models left from whatever range, you'll always get that option. But I really just need to work on closing shit out when I'm ready to close it out. Like Arena Rex in particular, really need to finish painting that one. So yeah.
Well, during the show, I not only managed to finish painting the prefects and Asami, but I also finally painted in Candy Heart.
Nice.
Many.
Oh, I think I ordered the Takahashi candy so that I wanted another candy.
Oh, is that the ninja candy for the Bruce Lee
That's the
game?
one the one that came with the tentacle bento thing. That was I found it on the store and I was like, oh, I like that model.
I will have to check it out.
I also want to get now that they have cards for her, I want to get the Suicide Queen on foot.
Oh, they're officially out. Nice.
Yep. Yeah, Ross just announced that a few hours ago.
Yep, I see it posted. I have her model somewhere. Just have to find it.
Cool. All right. So I am going to go 2 for 1 now that I'm done with her. I'm going to finish Cross here real quick. And then I'm going to call it.
Plus,
I'm going to hop off. I will see you Tuesday.
All right. Sweet.
I will be bringing.
Alrighty, man. Have a good one. Thanks for helping on.
That was nice, and then in the tactics. And I'm also supposed to be getting in a game of Parallax.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see you then, and then we'll see you for the tournament on the 28th.
Nice. Okay.
So have a good night, and I will see you guys later.
All right. Have a good one, Corey.
All right, bye.
Probably end up ordering
So,
Takawashi minis.
yeah,
But they're
I
on my-
ordered that, and then I ordered some of the organized play stuff, and I hope it gets here in time. That'd be cool if we have that stuff ready.
Oh, is Sunday happening?
Sunday is available, but it's not like an official thing or thing. We can't play at CQ, so that's annoying.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, we can either play at my house, or I can see if I can do a little bit of driving, maybe head up to Monstor. But that's kind of a long shot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that one off, because I can play. The issue is I can play, but I have to stay relatively close, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My wife will be on vacation. She might be a little more apt to let me do a little bit of driving. But let's see. By the way, a few more comments coming in. Question from Troy: Relic Knights. Yes, Relic Knights. I want to play more Bushido, and now that I have everything, I need to start playing Drop Zone Commander. Cool. Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the ones that Phil mentioned. He wants to play a little bit more of, or play. Phil doesn't, currently not playing Drop Zone Commander. All
Yeah.
right.
Phil said he was interested in the. I played against Drop Zone Commander once, and it was alright.
Okay. I mean, it looks kind of like a cool game. I have a hard time with the smaller scale stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what
I
bugged me
need
about
faces for some reason. I'll still play it. I mean, I would still play it, but like as far as buying it, I don't want to buy anything that doesn't have a face. I don't know why. My hang up, like, oh,
You can't
I don't get to paint eyes.
faces.
I need faces.
I also got Karan basically finished.
Who?
Karan for Eldorado.
Oh, cool. Karen, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I just gotta do touch-ups. Base them.
Yeah, did you get these arcade STE minis?
Not yet. I've kind of been holding off on buying more SDE until I paint my starter set.
Makes sense.
And
These are pretty sweet.
I had to set that off because when I said I was going to sit down and paint it, I somehow ended up getting into a whole bunch of Relic Knights.
Yes.
Well, I say somehow, but I think we all know how.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think these dudes are basically done. Nice. Because I do want to get
Yeah,
the
this is.
EU Von Drac set.
I have like a half painted Von Drac set that I just need to just buckle down and finish.
Yeah,
And then as soon as I'm done with these go to Yu Yao. And then he trades me an unpainted set. Then I paint these again. Yay. Because I will paint SDE for the rest of my natural life. For whatever reason.
I think it might have been Paul or somebody who said that painting the Von Drac set was easier than the base set just because it was basically all skeletons.
In a way, it is. The painting little witches and stuff takes a little bit longer, and the toads. But yeah, in a way. Yeah.
They have just
I
like
really
one Drac set at Monster that teases me every time we go in there.
It's pretty cool. I've actually never run Von Drac as a boss.
He's pretty cool. The
Sounds
Death
interesting.
Spectre, the Death Spectre is just straight bullshit though.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here we go. All right, one little wash on these guys, on their base, and they're done. Then.
Hmm.
Where is dark tone? Dark tone.
Found one of my Infinity models.
What?
Yeah, I bought 2 Infinity models.
You did?
Yeah, like this was a while
Not
ago.
yesterday.
No, not
Oh.
yesterday. Back at Strategicon.
Oh. So you knew this would happen.
Kind of. I kind of bought them because I could have converted them for HMN. But now that we're going to be getting to Infinity, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right.
No idea who they are though, so.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I have another set of Infinity here that I can paint. That I just need to find a little opening here in between all the SDE, and I'll do it.
Yeah, Infinity looks like it'll be fun to paint.
Yeah, and it's a style that I kind of want to get a little bit better at anyway. Is that they do a lot of like two-brush blending and wet blending on those models.
Yeah.
And that looks kind of cool. Kind of excited.
Oh, and there's crap on it, of course. I do need to get a case for my SDE though, since it's going to be painted.
Yeah, you're going to have a million of it. It's the issue with SDE. I have too much of it. Alright.
More SDE that then logically makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that's it. I think I'm just going to let these dry. And it is super, super late. Didn't realize that. I have to go to bed now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So I think we are going to call it here. Once again, thanks, guys, for watching. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. We went a little bit longer tonight just because I wanted to finish painting some shit, but finally got to it. So I think that's going to be it. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.